Racist cop attacks retired CIA agent. Learns he's an undercover agent. One punch. Millions watching. Before we jump into this gripping story, where are you watching from? Let me know your city and country in the comments below. It's amazing to see where this community is growing from around the world. If you're here for tales that touch the heart and spark the imagination, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss a new narrative. Alright, it's time to bring this story to life. Let's get into it. It's a quiet afternoon in the suburbs, the kind where the hum of distant lawnmowers and the chirping of birds set a serene backdrop. Michael Caine, a man in his late 50s with a weathered face and calm demeanor, drives his modest sedan down a tree-lined street. Dressed casually in a plain blue shirt and slacks, he blends effortlessly into the neighborhood. He isn't thinking about much, just enjoying the soft tunes of a classic jazz station on the radio, his fingers lightly tapping the steering wheel in rhythm. But Michael Caine is no ordinary man. Beneath the surface of this seemingly harmless driver lies a past steeped in covert missions and high-stakes diplomacy. A retired CIA agent, Michael has spent his life navigating danger and deception. And though his days of espionage are behind him, his instincts remain razor-sharp. A few blocks away, Officer Rick Harris sits in his patrol car, idly watching the road with narrowed eyes. Rick's uniform is crisp, but his reputation is anything but clean. Known for his short temper and an unsettling penchant for targeting minorities, Rick thrives on the power his badge gives him. He scans passing vehicles like a predator searching for its next prey. As Michael's car rolls into view, Rick's gaze locks onto him. To Rick, it's not about the car or the driver's behavior. It's the face behind the wheel. Something about Michael's composed demeanor rubs him the wrong way, as if the mere sight of him challenges Rick's authority. Rick smirks to himself and mutters, "Let's see what you're hiding." With a flick of the switch, red and blue lights flash behind Michael's car. The soft hum of the radio is replaced by the sharp wail of the siren. Michael glances in his rear-view mirror, his expression unreadable. He sighs and pulls over to the side of the road, parking carefully under the shade of a large oak tree. Rick approaches the vehicle with deliberate steps, his hand resting on his holster, not out of necessity, but intimidation. He leans down to the driver's side window, his shadow casting over Michael like a dark cloud. License and registration. Rick snaps, his tone sharp and accusatory, as if Michael had already committed a crime. Michael looks up, his expression calm but cautious. He retrieves his documents, handing them over without a word. Rick scans the papers, his brow furrowing. "You know why I pulled you over?" he asks, though the question drips with hostility rather than genuine curiosity. Michael tilts his head slightly. "No, officer. I wasn't aware I did anything wrong," he says, his voice even and respectful. But Rick doesn't want respect. He wants control. "Didn't see that stop sign back there, huh?" he sneers, pointing vaguely behind them. Michael knows there was no stop sign, but he also knows this isn't the time to argue. He nods slightly, keeping his tone measured. "I'm sorry if I missed it. I'll be more careful." Rick's eyes narrow. He doesn't like the lack of fear in Michael's voice. There's no stammering, no nervous apology, just an unshakable calm that feels out of place. Rick leans in closer, his tone dropping to a low growl. "You got something in the car you're hiding." Michael's fingers tighten subtly on the steering wheel, but his face remains neutral. "No, officer, nothing at all," he replies, his voice unwavering. The tension crackles in the air like a storm about to break. The viewer knows this isn't going to be a routine traffic stop. Something is coming. Something that will change the course of this encounter entirely. And just like that, the stage is set. A quiet suburban street, an arrogant cop on a power trip, and a man with a mysterious past who's far more prepared than he appears. What happens next? You'll just have to wait and see. Now here's where things start heating up. What began as a routine traffic stop is about to explode into a moment that will leave you gripping the edge of your seat. Officer Rick Harris stands by Michael Caine's window, his impatience growing like a storm cloud. It's not enough for Rick to have Michael's license and registration in hand. No, he's looking for anything, to assert his dominance. Rick leans closer, his voice dripping with venom. "What are you doing in this neighborhood? Huh? Doesn't look like you belong here." His words cut through the air, loud enough for nearby drivers to hear. A few heads turn. People start slowing their cars, curiosity and unease setting in. But Michael Caine? Oh, he's not rattled. Not even a little. Michael, ever the calm and collected man, looks up at Rick with a polite but firm tone. "Officer, I don't believe where I'm driving requires justification. I've done nothing wrong." And that's the spark. Rick's face twists with frustration. This wasn't the reaction he wanted. He steps back, pacing, fists clenched, like a boiling pot about to spill over. Nearby, a woman in an SUV pulls out her phone, sensing something is about to go down. Rick stops pacing, his voice rising. "You people always think you can talk your way out of anything." The phrase hangs heavy in the air, a blatant act of prejudice. Michael tilts his head slightly, still calm, still unshaken. But behind his steady gaze, something shifts, something. Calculated. And then it happens. Without warning, Rick lunges forward, his fist connecting with Michael's face in a swift, brutal motion. Crack! The sound echoes in the still afternoon air. Michael's head snaps back as he falls slightly against the seat, stunned but not defeated. Witnesses in nearby cars gasp audibly, a flurry of phones now recording the scene. The hum of bystanders' whispers grows louder. Did he just punch him? Oh my God! He's gonna regret that. But the most interesting part? Michael doesn't react how you'd expect. No anger, no yelling, no attempt to fight back. Instead, he rubs his jaw lightly and looks up at Rick, his expression eerily calm. And then in a voice so low it feels like a warning shot, Michael says 6 chilling words. "You just made a big mistake." And that's when Michael subtly reaches into his pocket and presses a small, unassuming button on a hidden device. Just like that, the tide of this encounter begins to turn, though Rick has no idea yet. Oh, but you do, don't you? You can feel it. Something big is coming. And if you think that punch was the climax, let me tell you, you've seen nothing yet. So stick around, because what Michael has in store will blow your mind. And hey, before we move on, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Why? Because this is just the beginning, my friend. You're going to want to see how this all plays out. Trust me, it's worth it. And now, dear viewer, we step into the part of the story that will make your jaw drop. You thought Michael Caine's calm demeanor was just about keeping the peace? Oh no. This man has been several steps ahead of Officer Rick Harris from the moment that siren blared. Unbeknownst to Rick, the punch wasn't just an act of violence. It was the ignition of a much larger plan. You see, Michael isn't just a retired CIA agent. He's a quiet architect of modern surveillance, a man who spent years mastering the art of watching and exposing. As Rick continues his aggressive tirade, gesturing wildly and barking accusations, Michael's unassuming device is doing its work. That little button he pressed, it activated a hidden camera embedded in his car, streaming every moment of this encounter to a secure network. Yes, every word, every motion, every ounce of Rick's unchecked rage is now being broadcast to Michael's team of tech-savvy operatives. And here's where things get really juicy. On the other side of the city, a small but formidable team of experts sits in a dimly lit office, their screens lighting up with real-time footage. With practiced efficiency, they start uploading clips to social media. Within minutes, the video goes live. First, a few shares, then dozens, then hundreds. By the time Rick finishes his next sentence, hashtags like hashtag Justice for Michael and hashtag Stop Rick Harris are already trending. college students in coffee shops, office workers on their lunch breaks, commuters scrolling on their phones. They're watching this moment unfold, horrified by Rick's blatant abuse of power. Comments flood in. Who is this cop? Fire him now. Michael is a legend for staying calm. This is why we need accountability. And yet, Rick remains blissfully unaware of the firestorm he's just ignited, oblivious to the millions of eyes now watching his every move. He doubles down on his aggression. He leans closer to Michael, sneering. You think you're clever? Let me tell you something. Nobody gets the better of me. Oh, Rick. If only you knew. As Rick continues his self-righteous rant, the viewers at home know something he doesn't. This is no longer just a traffic stop. It's a live-stream reckoning. And Michael? He sits there, calm as ever, letting the world witness everything. Because this isn't just about him. It's about holding people like Rick accountable on the grandest stage possible. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happens next? Does Rick finally realize the walls are closing in? Does Michael reveal the full extent of his plan? Oh, trust me, it only gets better from here. Before we get to the next twist, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of justice seekers. Because stories like this, they're only the beginning. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next. And here we are, right in the thick of it. Officer Rick Harris still thinks he's in control, barking orders and throwing his weight around. But Michael Caine? Oh, Michael is done playing defense. It's time to turn the tables. And what a turn it's going to be. As Rick continues his aggressive questioning, Michael's demeanor shifts ever so slightly. His calm turns to a quiet, almost surgical precision. His voice, measured and steady, cuts through Rick's bluster like a scalpel. You seem very confident, Officer Harris, a man sure of himself, sure of his authority. But tell me, does that confidence come from the badge or something else? Rick blinks, momentarily thrown off by the unexpected question. He recovers quickly, but not quickly enough. What are you talking about? Rick snaps, his voice rising. Michael tilts his head, his gaze piercing. I wonder, officer, do your colleagues respect you as much as you think they do? Do they know everything? The words are delivered with just enough weight to make Rick pause. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crosses his face. Meanwhile, Michael's team is hard at work, back at their base. Fingers fly across keyboards, pulling records, compiling complaints, and matching faces to stories. And what do they find? A treasure trove of Rick's darkest secrets. Excessive force complaints, allegations of racial profiling, a report of a fellow officer calling him a ticking time bomb. All of it meticulously documented, now being fed directly into the live stream. The world isn't just watching Rick, they're learning who he really is. And the reaction? Oh, it's explosive. Social media is on fire. Comments flood in. This guy has a history of abuse. How is Rick Harris even still a cop? We need this man out of uniform. Rick, of course, has no idea his dirty laundry is being aired in real time. But then, the cracks begin to show. His phone buzzes incessantly in his pocket. Dispatch calls come through his radio. The voices on the other end more frantic than usual. He notices the stares from the growing crowd of bystanders, some of whom are murmuring and pointing at him. Rick's bravado falters. His words become clipped, his movements more erratic. He leans down to Michael's window, desperate to reassert control. What are you trying to do here? You think you're smarter than me? Michael smiles faintly, his tone calm but devastating. I don't think, Officer Harris. I know. And then, with the precision of a master interrogator, Michael delivers the knockout blow. How many complaints does it take before they pull a badge? 5? 10? What's your number, Rick? Rick's face drains of color. He steps back from the car, his eyes darting nervously as if searching for an escape. By now, The live stream is a full-blown spectacle, and Michael's words are echoing across the internet. Every viewer can see it. The fear in Rick's eyes, the panic setting in as a realization dawns. This isn't just a traffic stop anymore. This is the beginning of the end. And let me tell you, folks, it's only going to get more intense from here. So, if you haven't already, now's the time to hit subscribe. You don't want to miss the moment Rick's world comes crashing down. And trust me, it's coming faster than he can handle. Now, buckle up, folks, because this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The pressure has been building, the tension crackling like a live wire, and now, finally, it's about to explode. Rick Harris is standing by Michael Caine's car, sweating bullets as his world starts to unravel. And then, like a siren call of doom, backup arrives. Flashing lights flood the scene as 3 more patrol cars pull up. The officers step out, their postures stiff and professional. At first, they side with Rick, nodding along as he barks something about resisting arrest and a dangerous suspect. But then, something shifts. One of the officers pulls out their phone, eyes widening as notifications pour in. They glance at Rick, then back at their screen. Another officer checks their radio, where dispatch is frantically describing the live stream, and the millions of viewers currently watching Rick's every move. Whispers pass between them. The realization spreads like wildfire. This isn't just another call. This is a PR disaster unfolding in real time. Rick senses a change, but he clings to his authority like a man clutching at straws. "What are you waiting for?" he snaps. "Get him out of the car." But Michael is as calm as ever. He steps out of the vehicle slowly, his hands raised slightly, not in surrender, but in control. The camera pans to his face, steady and resolute, as he delivers the words that turn this entire confrontation on its head. "Do you know who I am, Officer Harris?" Rick freezes, his bravado faltering. Michael takes a step closer, his voice smooth and precise, each word like a scalpel cutting through Rick's fragile facade. "I am Michael Caine, retired CIA, 25 years of covert operations. And now, I run the very surveillance network exposing you to the world right now." The silence is deafening. Rick's colleagues exchange glances, their faces a mixture of disbelief and dawning horror. Michael's revelation is more than just a twist. It's a mic drop of epic proportions. The bystanders gasp. The live stream erupts with comments. "Did he just say CIA? Rick messed with the wrong guy. Get the popcorn. This is gold." And then comes the final blow. Michael turns to Rick with a look that can only be described as devastatingly composed. "I've spent my life taking down men far more dangerous than you. And now, the world will see you for exactly what you are." Rick stumbles back, his face pale. By now, his colleagues are no longer on his side. Under the weight of public outrage, the live stream, and their own mounting embarrassment, they do the unthinkable. They place Rick in handcuffs. As the cuffs click into place, Rick protests wildly, his voice cracking with desperation. "You can't do this. I was doing my job." But his words fall on deaf ears. The crowd cheers. The live stream chat explodes with messages of justice, and Michael simply watches, his mission accomplished. And there you have it, a moment of pure, unadulterated karma. But wait, don't click away just yet. The story isn't over, and if you're loving this roller coaster of justice, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what Michael Caine takes on next. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, it's this. When Michael's involved, the tables always turn. And just like that, the storm is over, or is it? Because what happens after the chaos is often the most powerful part of the story. Rick Harris, once the untouchable bully with a badge, is now the face of disgrace. News channels light up with headlines. Officer exposed in viral video. Decades of abuse uncovered, and the most damning of all, justice delivered in real time. Reporters flood the airwaves, dissecting every frame, of the viral livestream. They replay the punch, the escalating confrontation, and Michael's cold, calculated revelation. But it's not just Rick's actions that are under the microscope. His entire career is now an open book. Complaints long buried are dragged into the light. Former victims come forward, their voices finally heard. The message is clear. No one is above accountability. Meanwhile, Michael Caine stands in the center of it all, not as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience and justice. In a brief but powerful interview, he addresses the camera with his trademark calm, his voice carrying the weight of his message. This wasn't just for me, he says, his gaze steady and unwavering. This was for everyone who's ever faced injustice and felt powerless to fight back. Technology gave us a voice today, and it's a voice we must use to demand accountability and fairness, not just for some, but for all. The world listens, hanging on his every word. Social media erupts once again, not with outrage, but with hope. Hashtags trend in support of Michael, and people everywhere share the video, inspired by his courage and composure. And then, like the true enigma he is, Michael steps back into the shadows. The final scene shows him driving away from the chaos, the soft hum of his car blending with the calm of the suburban streets. The camera pans to his face, serene and thoughtful, as if he's already moved on to his next purpose. Here's a powerful reminder of the story's message. Justice wins when we stand together. If you're still here, gripped by this tale of justice and redemption, let me leave you with this. Subscribe to the channel, because stories like these will always leave you wanting more. Catch you in my next video.